Hopefully this is sounding good. Hello, hello. 212. Just making sure my audio is good. Giving people some time to get into the room. So how is everybody? I hope everybody's doing good today. Going to be it's the live stream that I'm doing in my everything on Thursdays. I'm going to be doing this mixed media, different things like art journaling and just different processes. Today, since it's the first day, um, I decided that it would be a good place to start by showing you guys how to create your own gesso and your own modeling paste for those of you that media, or you want to create your own modeling paste, which is used to do stenciling and all different kinds of art projects as well as gesso. So I have a couple, but pretty much I'm just going to break down to you guys what it is that you're going to need in order to create your modeling paste in your gesso the way that I created. I know that there's many recipes out there as far as how to do it. A video somewhere in my channel that I used where I created it before, but that was so pretty much all you're gonna need is some baby powder. Now make sure that you look in the back and you do not get the baby powder that has cornstarch. In my experience, I didn't really like and very much, and I felt like it developed quite a funky smell rather quickly. As to this one does not create any kind of scent at all, no longer, no matter how long you store it. I think because it's cornstarch, and it's got some kind of, it's with corn. If you're going to use that, I think it would be a good idea to add maybe some glycerin to it just to kind of kill up any bacteria, or at least not allow the bacteria to activate itself. With this, you don't have to use any glycerin. This is quite all right. Only thing that we're gonna need is some school glue now. Um, for a dollar kind that you get at Dollar General. But you can pretty much use any kind of school glue, regular. I don't really recommend that you use anything more expensive than that or anything more high maintenance than that, which it's up to you if you want to, but this does the job quite well. Pretty much using that. And then I have here two jars, and in one of my jars, I just added some water so that I can mix my products together. And I have, this is a half a cup here of measuring for measuring. Got these cups, which I'm not really sure if I'm going to use them or not. I might not need to use them since I have myself a handy dandy little bowl. Need something to stir it with, so I got myself a nice little plastic spoon to do so. So let's get this going. And the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop off of it's like really today is Thursday, and I just want to say real quick before I begin, my prayers, my thoughts, all my love goes out to the people that are now in Florida, where this Hurricane Irma is pretty much bound towards now. I have a lot of friends, from the YouTube community that live out there, so just want to let you guys know that I'll be thinking about you guys and praying for you. Hi, Michelle. So I'll be thinking about you guys and praying for you while I'm mixing. So touch base with some of you guys later on. But yes, we are in some tumultuous times right now. In the season, it's just been one thing after the other. So pretty much this is how we're gonna start. So I have my bowl. I'm gonna grab powder, and I'm gonna small amount because I really don't need to make that much. Now, this is just an alternative because we do have other gessos, on the market. We have so many different brands that make gesso. This is something that you can create. If you just want to kind of make your own, able to just make it on the fly for very affordable. This pretty much two bottles of this and one of baby powder I got pretty much for $2 plus tax. All the extra things are just additional things that you don't really need if you have them at home. But I'm gonna do a small batch, and then I pretty much have these jars so that I can store them in. But you can also use Tupperware if you would like. Label them because they're pretty much gonna look the same. The only thing that you're gonna be able to tell the difference is in the thickness of the modeling paste compared to the gesso. So we have our baby powder. So I'm gonna grab my first bottle, 4 ounce thing of glue. I'm gonna go ahead and add about a quarter of this here. A little bit more than a quarter, but it's okay because you can always add. Let me see. It's actually about a quarter. So this is about maybe no, maybe 1/3 of it is what I used in here. And here I'm gonna add a little bit of water, just a little bit, just to kind of get the slurry kind of going. We're just gonna mix. When it comes to gesso, you don't want it to be super thick, borderline modeling paste. For gesso, you want to be able to brush it on. So you just want to make sure you mix that really well. If it is, you can add more glue and or more water. If you don't like the grayish tone that it has, you also have the option of adding some paint. You can add white paint, or you can make your own different color gessos by adding different color paints to the mix. And you don't need to add much; you just a little bit will do you. I'm just kind of mushing it all down, making sure that I have. Now you don't want it to be runny. You do want it to be loose enough that you can pretty much brush it on any surface. How you doing, Michelle? A little too loose for me. Just want to make sure that I have everything very well mixed in here. What I brought is I brought a couple different examples of what you can use this on. I have a book cover from an old torn down book. I usually save those whenever I can. Whenever I find these broken down books and they're hardcovers, I usually take the hardcovers off and try to save some of the images if I can, depending on how badly damaged the book is. A bit more now. I'm gonna start eyeballing this just a little bit because again, I don't want it to be. I'm just gonna add a little bit to it, just to thicken it up, just a smidge. Now you can either, once you apply this gesso to your page or your canvas or your box, whatever you're altering or whatever you're creating on, whatever surface you're creating on, you have the option of letting it dry on its own, which will take a couple of hours to dry, or you can heat set it, which will speed up the drying process. Okay, so I like that. So you see how thick it is? It's almost like a very loose what you want. And I'm not gonna add any paint to this because I want to show you guys pretty much what it is. In case you don't want to use up your paints, because I know the paints are sometimes a very valuable commodity. So you don't have to use up your paint. If you do, a tablespoon's worth. Sorry about that. Bring that volume down. So pretty much you just want it to be, you see how simple it is. Very easy. Just a little bit of water, some glue. So jar here. And this is the only thing that you're gonna need water for. You do not apply water to the modeling paste. At least I don't. Then I just pour that all in there. This can last you a very long time if you store it well in a nicely sealed container. Very simple. And I made there about 1/4 of a cup with what I added in there. Then you just have to make sure that you seal it out very loose, nice coating on that. Now we're gonna get into the modeling paste, which I'm gonna go and pour this water out cup because I will not be needing it. Put that water over there. So pretty much for this, we're gonna start off in the same way, and we're gonna start off with oops, a half a cup of baby powder. And then we're gonna add the rest of our glue. And if I need more, I have another bottle there that I can grab some from. All of this out in here. Try to get as much as you can out of it. And this we're just gonna mix together. And you want to form it into a paste. Nice thick, spreadable paste, but a paste nonetheless. So you see how it's kind of clumping up in there in the center? A little dry. We don't want that. We want it to be spreadable. And look at all the modeling paste you can make with just a half a cup of baby powder. This is enough to do several projects, stenciling on several projects right here. And I'm just kind of scraping it off the sides and just making sure I incorporate all of that baby powder in there. Now, if you wanted to spread this on a canvas, you can. It's gonna be very thick, slower that kind of. So you can spread this on your canvas if you want. If you want to make it thicker so that you can add more texture, just add a little bit more baby powder to it, and you can make it a lot thicker just by doing that. You want to make sure it's nice and smooth and not so clumpy because since you're going to be most likely using this for stencils, you want it to be very smooth. I'll tell you about this compared to, say, like modeling paste. I bring my modeling paste out. I didn't. Compared to like modeling paste, this is gonna dry just a little bit heavier because of the baby powder and just all the different things that are in the baby powder. So when it dries, your finished project is gonna have a little bit more weight to it. I mean, just grabbing this alone, I can feel that there's definitely a lot of weight to that. As opposed to paste in the store, a lot lighter, just because of the way that they make it. So just be aware of that. So don't find it strange if you pick up your project and it's like, okay, this got a little bit of weight to it. Now, when it comes to the gesso, again, if you want it to be white, pretty much like this is, all you have to do is just add some paint to it. Now, it's gonna 9 times out of 10 be a little bit better quality. Um, the difference between this and this is just paint. This doesn't have any paint when you make it yourself, but you can add paint to it if you wish. So now that we have some gesso and we have, I'm not gonna put that in there. I'm actually gonna leave it in the bowl for now. When I'm done, I'll put it in the tray. Um, when it comes to where you can apply it to, pretty much you can apply it on any kind of surface, wood, cardboard. Um, you can apply it on so many different surfaces. Usually, what I like to do and how I ended up actually getting into making my own stuff is because sometimes the sketchbooks are a lot cheaper to buy and more readily available. Media book, which already comes kind of prepared in some way in order to be absorbent of the water. Once you apply your gesso and you dry it, then your page is going to become pretty much ready. You can apply any kind of wet medium to it, and it'll hold itself well, and you won't get too much of that seeping through, the bottom end. So I'm gonna grab one of these real quick and just kind of show you what I mean. Just try to find a page I have not doodled on. So pretty much I'm gonna grab my gesso, and you definitely want to apply this and then let it dry or dry with a heat tool. Grab a brush. Now I would recommend this. Make sure that you clean your brush right after. Don't leave your brush kind of kind of sitting is drying on because it will make it hard. So just be aware of that. I'm just gonna slather this on. Now, if you have some gesso, you can go ahead and you have a little bit left, let's say, and you're running out, you can go ahead and mix these two together and make more gesso out of what you have. Since the store-bought gesso comes with all the binders and just everything kind of ready in it, you're pretty much good to go. I'm gonna do this whole page because I'm gonna work on a just self-tap canvas real quick. But I just wanted to show you. So this brush, I wanted to show you the difference of how that paper looks compared to the spot that does not have gesso on it. So I'm just gonna heat set this really quickly. And then I'm gonna add some paint on the side without it and add some paint on the side with it just so that you can see how they compare and why it is a good idea to prep your paper when you're gonna do any kind of wet medium. Hopefully I'm not too into I didn't want to blow directly at the mic. So yeah, just a little bit more. We're almost there. Not 100%, but it's like a good 95. All right, so off the gate, you'll definitely feel some texture to this. It already has some tooth to it. Now it's not as dry as it should be, but for time's sake, I'm gonna speed that up a little bit. Now, let's say some spray. This is from the Geco Art Media line. So I'm just gonna add some spray directly on that. Then I'm gonna add some spray. And I'm just gonna heat set that a little bit. This is the side that doesn't have any gesso. This is the side that has gesso. Turn the paper over, the side that doesn't have gesso, it automatically 2 seconds flat, it absorbs the color and now it bleeds through the back of your paper. So if you're working, let's say in a sketchbook or in a journal that the paper is kind of thin, then what's going to happen is the minute you start drawing or painting or adding your mediums to that page and it's not prepared, you're going to end up damaging the pages that are behind it. When you apply your gesso and you dry it up properly, apply your medium, even though it's wet medium, the gesso becomes like a barrier. Now you might see a little bit, but it won't seep through if you dry in between your layers. Obviously you don't want to go and soak your whole paper up with, you know, you want to try to dry in between your layers so that you don't go ahead and transfer your ink on the other side. And this pretty much will help you to add layer upon layer upon layer, be it napkins, whatever you're going to be using, and different kinds of paints and sprays and all different kinds of things, and water, watercolor, to pretty much protect your paper. So this thing is phenomenal, and this is why I recommend you, if you can't buy it, then make your own gesso, because it's just a really, really awesome thing to to have handy, and be able to create. What I'm gonna do is pretty much show you the books that I use, and then I'm gonna go into this beginners. Hi Joyce. The whole process. We made gesso, and we also made modeling paste that we are going to be using. Doesn't this thing look awesome? It almost looks like melted ice cream. Um, so I was just pretty much showing. Um, this is the side that has the gesso here, and this is the side without the gesso here. And pretty much when you make the, when you prepare your page, you won't get none of that seepage in the back. Not prepared, then you pretty much get a lot of leakage the other side. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna show you guys and test run real quick with you guys modeling paste so you guys can kind of see it in action. And then I think I'm going to create a little canvas with you guys, utilizing the things that I have created. That you don't always have to pretty much go to the store, make your own, and they're just as good or sometimes even better. So I'm trying to see which one, which one of my stencils I can use. Okay, I think this butterfly will work. Butterflies. So let's use this stencil here. I have everything kind of set up in my little cart now. So this is a stencil from Deco Art, and it is called, it's from the Urban Ink line, and it is called Spirited. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. So we're gonna do a test run on this, and what I'm gonna do is book, and I think Canton, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's by or Strathmore. It's one of these watercolor books. Now, I love these for mixed media because the pages are really thick, especially watercolor paper. You can either use watercolor paper or you can use the mixed media paper. I just find that the watercolor, when you buy the watercolor, it gives you more bang for your buck. I mean, you get a lot more pages when you buy the watercolor books than when you buy the mixed media books. So I just tend to go for these. And this is the other one that I have that I use. This is my watercolor book as well. And even though these are watercolor books and there you can add mediums and stuff like that, I like to make my paper a little bit stiffer. And so I'll prep when I'm going to use it. So I think what I'm going to do, these, one of these, some modeling paste to it. I'm going to use my stencil and add some of my do it yourself modeling paste for that butterfly there. Now you can either use a palette knife. You go. So now you can turn them into much more than just a sketchbook, Michelle. You can go ahead and turn them into a mixed media kind of book. And if you're gonna do that, like if you're gonna go turning paper by page by page by page, what I would recommend that you do is do one at a time and dry it. And then you'll have your whole book prepped, or you can do it as you go. It's completely up to you. I've done that at times also. Like I'll just prep a whole bunch of them. I'll prep a whole bunch of pages and just have them ready. So when I want to create, I can just create. But very cheap. I mean, $2 it cost me. Two bottles of glue for $1 and $1 worth of 14 ounces. And I still have a good quarter, a little less than half of this bottle is still full of baby powder. That's another batch altogether right there. So stencil out this free as a bird right here. And then I'm also going to stencil out this butterfly a little bit more. And I'm going to add, let me see, where's my, a little bit of tape. Where did I put my tape at? I know I brought some. There you are. Oh, here it is. So I'm just going to tape this down just for good measure. You want to, the main priority thing, the main thing is you want to make sure that it's thick enough and not loose. It doesn't kind of seep under. And to me, if you notice that it does that, say do a little test area first. I'm gonna do because this is my little test area now. But do a little test area and just make sure that it is thick enough so that it hangs on and it doesn't go under. Yes, darling. And you get more bang for your buck that way. So I'm just gonna pick up. Thick, it just sits there. Run if you let it run, but for the most part, it just kind of sits there. And that's kind of what you want. Now, what I like about creating my own paste, sometimes as opposed to buying it, is the fact that you can make the paste as thick as you want. Get really dimensional with it, then just make the paste a lot thicker. Paste, the more dimension you're going to end up having. Just make sure you don't put it too thick that it's hard to spread. And that's pretty much just trying to get rid of some of those little excess ridges so I don't end up having those little ridges over it. More. And it does go a really long way. Put a heaping spoon of this thing onto your, over your stencil to it. Sometimes adding a little bit works a little bit better. And I love the smell of baby powder. I know some people don't like it. I like it. So it actually does not bother me. I'd rather smell the baby powder than smell chemicals. And sometimes some of these things can have chemicals. The Deco Art brand doesn't have a smell to it, which is good, which is why I like it very much so. Um, but I know that when I run out, much, to get back to my basics and start making my own. My next one to come in. So a little bit goes a really, really long way, you guys. You don't have to go crazy, crazy, crazy. And I'm gonna lift this up now. Stencil was a little dirty, so I got a little bit of schmutz there, but I'm not too worried about that. Just gonna get rid of all this excess that I got there. Scrape that off very easily. Since it's a thick paste, you're pretty much good to go. You can see that just the way it is. If you gotta clean up certain little areas, I would recommend that you cut yourself up this in different size strips, like these and just different sizes, so that you can go ahead and touch up even smaller areas when need to. Like I have to touch up thing, and I'm just gonna push that into it is there. But in mixed media, there's no such thing as perfection, so it is actually quite all right for it not to be perfect. You don't have to go too crazy. you'll pretty much see most of this magic come to life once you add some paint to it. That is really when you see. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply some heat to this. Let me plug it back in. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, you guys. So let's just plug this back in. Get this heated up. Yes. You can make stencils out of anything also. Pencil knife and you just draw your design and you cut around it. You can go ahead and create your own. I must have laid the bird out pretty thick because the bird kind of got together on me. I must have added too much on that end. But you can kind of see it popping out now. The more you heat it up, the more you start to see it as it starts to dry. A bit darker. Go ahead and add some spray to that. I'm gonna go ahead and add probably the same one. Now I haven't done anything to the paper. I haven't added any gesso in the background because this is watercolor paper. So um, test more or less example is not really necessary. But your paper, if you want your paper to go from being this flimsy to being nice and firm, canvas, if you will, like a board, then you can go ahead and gesso it, and that'll help you get it a little bit more firmer. At least with this kind of gesso. Other gessos might still have a lot of flexibility in it. Own again, since you can kind of control how that kind of goes. Pretty much get different colors and then just spray a little bit of water on that. Allow that water to kind of flow around the design. Let's add a little bit of blue. It's not working too well for me today. So let's see. Do I have some water here? It's a good thing I saved some water here. Let me just add a bottle. So I have a little bit of water in my bottle. I'm just gonna kind of spray this out a little bit, and then you'll see kind of like that design into life a little bit more. Air dry this a little bit. Kind of move this around a little bit. Too much water in the bottom, not enough water in the top. And as you can see, it holds its shape very well. And this is just for demonstration purposes. Hi, Debbie. This is more so just for demonstration purposes. So it holds its weight very well. Like let's say you wanted to just kind of I mean not texture, add some color just to the raised areas, then you can pretty much grab any ink pad and a tool. Go ahead and maybe add I'm gonna use my new distress oxides that finally came in. And all I'm gonna do is pretty much that right over the top. Right over the top of the raised areas. Pop out a little bit more. I just love playing with these things right now. That's like my new fun toy. Try customs. How are you, darling? Let's see. Not that one. Maybe some green. This one is cracked pistachio. Like really nice to kind of use on these types of things. To pretty much go too deep with it, and this kind of pad actually does a really good job of itself. Unlike the other one, which is a little bit translucent, so it kind of could get lost in the paper somewhat. Right on top, so you can pretty much see it held its shape pretty well, even with the sprays, even with the water, even with inks. Once you dry it, you can pretty much do whatever you want to it after that, as long as it's dried well. Since it's watercolor paper, it won't seep to the back. Now, when you do it on regular paper, you're gonna get seepage to the back. So either gesso or watercolor paper, you can pretty much use to do this. That if you can make your own gesso, go right ahead and do some because it is a lifesaver. Now, create a canvas. And I'm going to show you pretty much how we're going to do this. So I'll end up using these later or something else. To do for the most part is save the hard part of the books whenever I can. So this is like a Care Bears, just the hardcover. I already made a canvas out of the other one, but I still had this one left over, so I figured it'd be good to do this with this. Now, for something like this, you definitely are gonna want to prime your surface, even though it's hard because it's that hard cardboard. But if you want to get rid of all of these, different graphics and all of these different things, then rule of thumb is to pretty much prime the surface, so you don't have to worry about, all of this different text and all of this different stuff. So that's pretty much what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna prime the surface. So, morning, Sandy. How are you, darling? So I'm gonna use this is the gesso that I made earlier. And again, it's extremely simple. All you need is baby powder, say cornstarch in the back. Make sure you read those ingredients, people. Just regular baby powder. Is about half a cup of that, and you're pretty much good to go. And a little bit of water. you eyeball it, just to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And then that's pretty much all you need. So we're gonna start with make sure that whenever you put your gesso away and you're reusing it again, that you give it a nice mix. Make sure that everything is well in there. Rub it out just a little bit. And I'm gonna start to. If you don't like the gray color, then add some white paint. That'll make it so that it's not so see-through, and agent as well. So you can always go ahead and kind of add. You don't need much. Good tablespoon is worth is pretty good. Wet wipe next to you is always a good idea, also, especially for those messy situations. Yes, darling. For the gesso and for your modeling paste, all you need is baby powder and glue. Make the most magnificent modeling paste that you have ever probably used. As thick as you want, so it has as much body as you need as it dries. Um, Leave it to air dry, or you can use your tool to heat it up and set it. Pretty much why I decided to start the first mixed media day for my live stream with actually showing you guys how to create your own. Because a lot of people don't know this out of $2. It cost me $2, and I have gesso and modeling paste, and I still have left over of baby powder. 3/4 full of bottle of glue. Yes, yes, yes. Can create when we are in need. And there's nothing like working on a project or having an idea in the middle of the night and going to grab your gesso or going to grab your modeling paste only to find out you have none. If you need black modeling paste, add black paint to your modeling paste. Store it in an airtight container and you will always have black modeling paste. If you want pink, then add some a nice pink color. And again, in a nice air dry place is really your best bet for that. Nice and always ready for use. I'm not going to worry too much about the edges because I will be covering this up as I go on to my next layers of collaging stuff to it. Right now, this is kind of like my first layer. I'm going to dry it up and I'm going to add another layer real quick over that just to make it a little bit more denser. See through. Thank you, Sandy. All. Don't make me blush. You guys can't see it, but I turn red. So let's see. Let's dry this baby up. Doesn't take too much time. And I just love the smell of baby powder. It reminds me of my kids when they were little. So I just love the smell of baby powder. If you don't like the smell of baby powder, then buy the ones that have no scent. They do have them. Just no cornstarch. None. No cornstarch. Now I'm going to add another layer on this. Make sure that this is nice. And again, you want to make sure that your consistency is nice and spreadable. If it's runny, you want it to have a certain level of thickness to it, but that it's still spreadable. Um, that second coat is definitely helping me to cover up these very bright and colorful images. Much what I want to do. On most cases, if you're working on regular white paper, one coat is enough because I'm working on a paper that is very high, has a lot of graphics on it, and has a lot of pigment and color that I do not want to really, necessarily show through. Is the reason why I added another just to kind of cover those up a little bit more. I normally rip these papers off cardboard base, but because I wanted to show you guys more or less, clean, which is always a good thing to do. And just secondly, that you can kind of turn anything, as long as you have the right ones, you can pretty much turn anything surface for you to kind of create with me now. So just kind of spreading this thing all around. Some napkins that I'm going to be using, and just some other kind of collaging items where we go from here. Get this done. I'm still kind of not sure if I want to add a face, if I want to paint a face or use one from a coloring book. Way I'm going to go with that. Wash your brush. Never ever leave your brush on it because afterwards, once it dries, it will dry like a brick. And you will notice that with this, your work will have definitely feel the weight on it. It's not like concrete, but more denser than your store bought brands for the most part. Cleanup since it's just baby powder and school glue, so not too much of a mess to worry about when it comes to cleaning up. And heat set this one more time. I'm gonna start grabbing just some different elements and stuff. I have this is kind of how I store my napkins for the most part. I leaves and I just stick a piece of cardstock in between just to kind of keep them somewhat in order. Pack is not in order, but that's kind of what I do every now and then. So again, we're gonna heat set this. I'm gonna move it away from the mic a little bit. Turn it off. Hold on one second. It unplugged. I have it plugged under the table, and for some reason, it keeps every time I move it, it keeps up and falls right off. So let's try this again. Now, this is you don't have to do this if you're not planning on working on your project right away. I recommend that you do this overnight and just kind of leave your canvases kind of drying, and then the next day you can go ahead and play with them and do what you wish. But since I'm gonna work on this now, if I would have added paint, I definitely would have been able to have covered up all these little graphics that are on here, no problem. With just a little bit of white paint, but everybody has paint in their house, they more readily can find baby powder and glue. So that's pretty much why I did it without, just so that you can see that you can still kind of work with it. That's good enough. It's no longer tacky to the touch. That's good enough right there. Now I'm gonna grab some collage elements because I no longer need this gesso for right now. I'll be doing some stenciling onto this, but I'm gonna get some of my collage items in there first, and then I'm gonna stencil over that. Grab um, some napkins and see what we come up with. If anything kind of pops out. Oh, I love this. How many do I have of this? Because if I only have one, I get stingy really quick. But I only have one of something. Does this have more than one? Let's see. Let's see how many butterflies are in here. Okay, there's a nice amount of butterflies. So I can definitely use at least one flower right here. So I think I'm gonna cut this out, this part out, right over here. This is a beautiful napkin. Thank you to whoever gave this to me. I love it. Little treasure that you find when you're not really looking. Being surprised all over again. Just love it. And I think this is from the Dollar Tree. I'm gonna use that to incorporate some other elements into that. And I'll get some papers as well. Do a little bit of everything on here. Buffering. What are you doing to me right now? Is it buffering on both ends? Let's see. Reach. All right, so I think it was just buffering more on my end than anything else. Um, I'm gonna grab a scissor. If I find my smaller scissors. Okay, I must have left it over there. I guess I'm gonna have to use the big one. Anything in here that's small? All right, so let's try to fuzzy cut. I'm gonna fuzzy cut this first. And this is like the world's biggest. So I'm gonna use this butterfly, and I think I'm gonna incorporate it somewhere up there. Of the, and I'm actually not gonna worry too much about fuzzy cutting it. I'm just gonna try to get some of the excess off and just round up some of these sharper, more smooth. Smoother little area to kind of work with. Yeah, that's fine. More out of here. Now to open these things up is the as the mystery of the day. Okay, so come on. Open, open sesame. Usually blowing on them will open them up a little bit, and then you can pretty much try to always remove, that second layer or third layer, depending on how many layers you have. And I think what I'm gonna do, start to now I'm gonna use glossy. You can use any glue that you have. When you use school glue, it will dry up a little foggy, so your images won't be so clear. It's always a good rule of thumb, especially if you want your images to somehow show that you use something that is, that dries clear. So let me put that up there. Let me add a little bit of this, on here. This doesn't have a very big area, so I'm just gonna rip this pretty much by hand. From the Dollar Tree, and they're awesome, but the one spot with the image. And open, open sesame. I have the little spot open, it just won't, my little nail won't catch onto it. There we go. It, and you're gonna open it and close it all over again. There we go. All right, so we got it. So pretty much this has butterflies. This one also has butterflies on it right here on the spot. So I'm just gonna try to grab just different little pieces of this, and I'm just gonna rip off. So it's a little bit distressed, and I'm gonna start by adding some of this glue. Now, if you have gel medium, you can go ahead and use that. They usually say that gel medium is the same as the equivalent to school glue with water. Is not as clear as gel medium, so just keep that in mind. If you don't want any rips on your napkin, don't overwork it. Add a little bit and keep it moving. Add a little bit and keep it moving. I do that all the time. I rip my napkins because I don't know when to stop sometimes. Just smoothing it over. Try to be sure of where you're sticking your pieces at, because once they go down, they go. It's kind of hard to lift them back up. I'm gonna grab some. This is by Miss Caroline, and it's a 6 by 6 paper pad, and it's called Howdy Doody. I'm gonna grab some of this. See what design I kind of like. I think I like this one. The other side is a little bit plain, so I can kind of use this here. So I'm just gonna add some different papers, just to different little areas. Keep the straight edges along the straight side, and anything that is cut, kind of like on both ends, I'll just keep open like so. Thank you, my sweet friends. You. This one here along the bottom. I don't like that little edge, so I'm just gonna rip that edge off. Kind of maybe incorporate that like right there. Some strips. Let's add some strips in here. This is why I didn't really worry too much about it, because I knew I was gonna be adding some collage elements to it, so it's actually quite okay. Right with it, kind of showing through a little bit. I don't mind so much the text because we add stamps, on the stamps anyway, so I'm not too worried about the stamping. About the text being there. Um, just trying to see like how I want this, more or less. This side. that side. So let me just start gluing down some of these things. And everything is kind of very smooth because everything is so super prepped. And because the gesso itself is textured, then things have a tooth to kind of grab onto. It helps the glue and everything else just kind of grab onto the canvas itself a little bit better. I think I'm gonna switch this up just a smidge. This is those moments where you're kind of happy that your paper has two sides because you get to use a little bit from one side and a little bit from the other side. Maybe when it comes to like making cards and I have to choose on which side of the paper I have to use, that kind of stresses me out a little bit. No, I don't want to have to choose. Why couldn't you just be ugly on one side? That always happen. For last, because I think what I'm gonna do with that butterfly, since I do want it to pop out, I don't want it to get muted with none of the other colors that I'm gonna be adding onto here. So I'm gonna add this a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and some of my other elements on here, like some of the modeling paste that I'm gonna be adding. So I'm just gonna seal all of this before I go into any of that. Maybe I can actually frame that a little bit. Now that you feel like your thing is dry on the other side, then you can go ahead and apply a little bit of glue to it at the top. But I didn't, apply glue on top of glue while the bottom was still wet because that'll just to break down a little bit easier on you. Just give it a few minutes just to dry at least on the bottom. Then you can go ahead and apply your glue on top. It'll hold your napkin will hold a lot better and it won't tear on you as easy. Applying. Here, I think I'm gonna add it in there somewhere, but I think I'm gonna add it um, on the bottom or maybe as her hair piece. I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna go ahead and line this up a little bit. Brush because any of these mediums will dry up your brush and turn it into an unusable tool. Allow them to sit and dry with the medium on. Leave your brushes in the cup. I've learned that the hard way, so I'm trying to be very conscious about that and leave that there. So I'm trying to be very conscious about leaving my brushes in the water. Way too many brushes that way. The hairs is all frayed and everything is all crazy. And it's because I left my brush in the water. Let's try to dry this up. And then we're gonna get a stencil that is not too hectic. I don't want a pattern that's too crazy, but I do want to add a little bit of something in here and the other, just so that I can get a nice little area for when I start drawing my face or collaging it. I'm not sure. I have I went to Dollar Tree today and I found this book for $3 and it's called Pop Art and it's got these kinds of pictures in it, which I think will be super awesome because it's got some really nice faces. So I might just use that and incorporate that. Using some of my Distress Oxide inks, medium for most of this. Once it's all dry, a little bit of spray and mostly painting mediums. So you see as it dries, you don't get that cloudiness. It's all dry and clear because it pretty much says clear finish somewhere in there. Um, says it somewhere in here. There's a lot of instructions. But yeah, just looking for glossy areas that pretty much tell me that I still have glue wet. It's just a good way to use up like broken down or torn down things. Also, cardboard, you can go ahead and do this too. Um, I've created many canvases you guys have seen pretty much just from using cardboard. My boxes that I alter, I usually prime it first with a layer of gesso and then I go into the, decorating it and so on and so forth. So what, right there? Doesn't take too much time altogether. Just clean my fingers up a little bit. I have some schmutz in there. So let's see. Let me try to figure out what image I'm gonna use, and then I'll know where the rest of my pieces are gonna go depending on how big her face is gonna be. Cool. I was looking for another one because I wanted to maybe like give it away. I'm gonna see if I find another one of these, but it's got really awesome images side, so they're perfect for cutting out and kind of adding it in there. Um, I thought these were like super cool. So I think that one might actually work. I don't like how her mouth is though, so I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Um, or her. She's a nurse, but maybe I can take this off and use flowers for that. It's got a lot of cool vintagey type, very retro, very love that kind of images. Look at this lady with a mustache. Um, make awesome poster arts. So I think I'm gonna use the nurse. I think she will fit well in here. And the edges are perforated. So let me try to cut this out. They had many other books there, but I wasn't really I didn't really like the other ones too much. I have to get some magazines, like fashion magazines, because I don't really have any, to do like some collaging. Another future video where I'm doing some collaging in it. I think I'm gonna use her face. I'm not gonna use none of the other elements. Just kind of looking to the side. I should go and get my other scissors, but let's try this. And I could actually even cut out all her hair if I wanted to and just create my own. You don't always need to know to how to draw in order to create beautiful things. And I think actually what I'm gonna do on here, I'm gonna cut off that side of her. Sometimes you can use collage items and create things that are just as beautiful. I'm gonna try to get this out. Really? See, they don't do that here. Not at all. They do not do that here, Michelle. All right. So her hair is not the best element for me to deal with, but I definitely love that face. Um, so I'm thinking that I'm gonna add her here, and then where's my butterfly? Gonna add the butterfly somewhere along these edges here, and then just add some kind of flowering or something around the edges. And things usually, when it comes to me doing stuff, I'll usually turn this into like the most dimensional piece of something because that's just overall. Let me grab my stamp. I'm gonna do some stamping on here. I'm gonna use waterproof ink only because I want these markings to kind of linger on. So I'm just gonna. This is not waterproof. At least just gonna add a little bit, just a little bit of this. I would have done it with my distressed oxides, but those are gonna move kind of what needed like a spray or something. So I just want to add a little bit of text here and there, especially like in some of these areas that are kind of white and that I don't have much of anything going on. Really, where I go crazy with this stuff, and I just start putting ink everywhere. All right, so I'm pretty much gonna have her here. So I know that for this whole center of this, I'm not gonna add any kinds of dimensional anything, meaning I'm not gonna add any stenciling or anything like that. But I'm gonna see what stencil I do have that will work well. I know, Joey. So this is kind of how I store my stencils. I have them all kind of on here, layered up. I just have to find one that I like. That doesn't have, the design itself is not too big, so that add and stencil it out and just maybe some bubbles. Some bubbles. Can never go wrong with bubbles, right? Very simple. And the stencil itself is small enough that I can get it out of here. Choose the one item that is all the way in the back, of course. I have to remind myself to put these in the front because they're small. And I usually go for the smaller ones first just because it's easier. There's a method to my madness. I promise you. There is a method to my madness. All right, so I'm gonna use these. I clean my stencils, but I don't clean them all the time. So yeah, I should say I clean them once a month, once every other month. It all depends how much I use them. So pretty much I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to add some bubbles, some elements here and there. Um, I'm not really sure where I'm going to add the butterfly at yet, but plastic. So just kind of mix it around. You know, it doesn't matter if you have it stored or if you have it out. Just mix it around before you use it. You get that consistency somewhat the same. Go into spreading a little bit at a time. A little bit over here. I know everything that I do is somehow mixed media related, but I haven't really dedicated time to just mixed media on my channel in quite some time because I've been doing so many other different been trying out. But I this is something that I really do enjoy, and for me it's just so relaxing. Textures, you know, the composition, putting things together. It's something that I really do love. And I just can't help it but always applying some level of mixed media to everything that I do. I try not to because I know sometimes it overcomplicates things, but I can't help it for the most part. On the stencil. My neighbors are, I think they're moving. It's a little bit of noise going on. And I live right next to a school, so I always have kids in the background laughing and enjoying life and their innocence. I don't know if you guys can hear that. They're playing manhunt or something. And it's always lunchtime. So there's usually a class out there, a couple classes out there most of the day. I chose this one because it's a little bit, it'll be a little bit easier to kind of get in there. And again, you can just kind of shape these just by kind of, you know, passing your little around there somewhere, somehow. Some more little bubbles down here. Then we're going to dry this up the rest of the other process, which is going to be playing with some inks and inking this whole background up so that it's got some color. Any suggestions on colors here? Experimenting with color. I know a lot of the times we end up with mud. I do like to experiment colors. Sometimes I'm shocked at the result. I expected is like, okay, I knew that was gonna happen. I always find this so interesting just to mix it up here. Now this stenciling did not come out so perfect because my stencil is dirty. So I just wanted to have some kind of in the background here be so black, so flat. Let's dry these up again. But you can see, all the different little textures. I might have to add just a little bit more baby powder to that, just to make it a little bit thicker. All right, it's loose again. I'm gonna have to find an extension cord. Keep going down here every single time. I need to stand up. Maybe that's why. That's pretty much dry. Pour this in here. I won't be using this. I will be probably adding just a little bit more baking powder, just and I mean a little bit, maybe like a teaspoon more. Make it a little bit thicker. And you can pretty much make this to suit your needs. You know, however thick you need it. And for cleanup, just let it dry and then it'll all peel right off the plastic. And it's very easy to tell which is your gesso, which is your modeling paste, because gesso is going to be a lot thicker. It won't move as quickly as opposed to your gesso. It's going to be whoop, whoop, whoop. It's going to be swishing and swirling everywhere. Again, just make sure you store it in a nice airtight container. All right, so let's get our distress on. Try some of these. And I think because we have orange, a little bit of purple. Let me see what other colors I have in here. Got from their starter kit, their starter 12, I got 10 of the colors. The only color that I didn't really get because I wasn't really feeling it too much was the gray. I didn't feel like I needed. Get the browns. I wonder maybe some of their pink. So I'm gonna start off just a little bit more purple and black. It's Michelle. For like a more of a Halloween type of thing, that will definitely work. I'm gonna go with some softer type of colors for this one. Plus, I don't have black in the distress outside color that I couldn't get. I don't have black or broken china. I felt a little bit of squishiness here, so let's dry. Making sure that this is all the way dry. I just don't want to mess up my sponges when I go adding my ink to it. And since these are kind of water soluble, I'm going to spray them down a little bit and just let them kind of mix and mingle somewhat, dry it out. start adding my last collage piece. I'm gonna add a coat of seal that color in the background, so that it doesn't mix with me painting her face, or however that ends up turning out. So I'm gonna start with the orange, since I have all this orange around the edges. So I'll start with the orange around the edges, just to kind of uniform that. And Slim Cards is the one that suggested that I try these, and that if I'm gonna invest into distressed inks, which is what I was gonna do, because some of my distressed inks were already, they're getting old, they're drying out. Inkers, I didn't get any. Um, so I was like, oh, I gotta buy, either the reinkers or the new ink pads. And she was like, try the oxides, you might like them. Girl, thank you so much. Because I think that very weekend, Joann's had a sale. These for about $3 each, which I'm thinking and hoping that that is a pretty good deal. So I went ahead and got all the ones that they had available. They didn't have many, but have a good amount. And these do apply very much like a butterish. They have a very soft, um, kind of consistency, as opposed to their oxides. Not the oxides, their regular distress. It wasn't so buttery to the feel. Is pink. I think pink and orange make the most beautiful color. Um, Beautiful melon kind of color. Add some pink, and then I'll add more bolder colors as I get towards the center. Ooh. Yes. I'm gonna add some of the purple as I get more towards the center. And then I'm also gonna spray this a little bit. I'm gonna add some splashes of water, just to have some kind of a reaction, because that's kind of like the big hoopla with these things, is the way in which they react to water. Of this purple here on one spot, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of the green. This purple, I'm gonna go in here, and then I'm gonna add some of this um, green on the other side. Now the colors that I use are Worn Lipstick, Wilted Violet, and Spice Marmalade, and Cracked Pistachio. We're going to go ahead and to this. Where is my water? Brush, actually. I think a brush will help me out a little bit more. Get some more of a reaction. Maybe a bigger brush. Let's see. Something with a little bit more grabbing capacity. We add a little bit into that cup right there and use the fan brush. I think this should help to enhance some of those bubbles that I used as far as the stencil is concerned, and help some of these colors kind of come to life, brighten them up. So let's see, let's grab a piece of paper. Actually, I'll grab some of the same paper that I have here. Gotta pick up some of that. I kind of like how that looks. I'm gonna add a little bit more color, I think. Hmm. A darker shade, a little bit of walnut stain to the edges. Again, everything that I'm using here is just the distress oxides, because you won't get to find out how well they work until you play with them, and I'm so excited to be playing with them. So just kind of darkening it up in certain places. I don't want to make it too dark. And then let's add some water. And I definitely do see that they're having some kind of a reaction to each other. Nothing too major, but it's definitely reacting. One of those that sprays heavier droplets. This one mist, so it'll just give it a thorough spraying, and it won't really do what I need it to do. Um, let's dry that up again, and then we're gonna seal it and continue on to the next part. Thank you, darling. Now you could do this with any kind of. It doesn't have to be like these kinds of inks. You can do this with paint as well. Just water down your paint a little bit, out of a little bit of water to just dilute it, and make it thinner, and then apply it with a sponge, and you can get the same effect. really do these kinds of things with you guys before because I have to use this tool in my room and I can't really use it there. So I would literally dry my projects beforehand, which is why a lot of my altering projects I couldn't really do live, from beginning to end because I couldn't use this in the room. But I really love how this is looking. And what I'm gonna do now is just seal it up some of this, which will give it some gloss. So she'll have that beautiful gloss in the background. Seal all of those water soluble colors. They're not no longer spreading and mixing and mingling no matter what I add to the top of this page. I want to go in it and add more distress, oxide or anything else for that matter. It will not affect what I have going on in the bottom layers once they're sealed. You can seal it with school glue, but you'll just have a cloudier finish. Um, it's glossy, it'll be somewhat more matte. This is Deco Page by Deco Art. You can also use puzzle glue use to kind of put over a puzzle once it's all done and it dries very clear. Everything in. Use that in case you don't find this or you need an alternative. Just the same job. Okay, we are done. I'm gonna give this a quick little dry. But before I give it a quick dry, I'm gonna quickly clean my brush because that is of the utmost importance. The brush. Make sure you get all that medium out of there. Not, you will be paying for it later. So many of my favorite brushes that way. Push it towards the bottom of the bowl and like if you're mopping the floor, don't do that. You just dip and then you dip, move across, dip, move across, dip, move across until it comes out somewhat clear. Gently wipe. And that will preserve your brush. When you cannot get to it, then wrap it in plastic out as soon as you possibly can. So now to dry. Now you could definitely see all of the different dimensions in there from when I did the stenciling, all of the stamping you can still see, all of the napkins and the elements you can still see. This takes more time. The different steps and just drying in between takes more time than doing it all in one shot. But if you take your time, the result is so well worth it. what they need to come out with, honestly speaking, with this thing attached to some kind of a machine, not a machine, like a box. You know, like how a microwave, the plate spins, your piece of canvas, depending on the size, and you have your heat tool on top, and it's just the plate is spinning while your art is spinning and it's drying it on itself. So I can just, if you will, and it's just spinning around. And if anybody comes out with that idea, remember you heard it from me. But that's what we need so that I could just put my stuff in, let it spin for a few seconds while I'm doing other things. Um, and I don't have to be doing this right here. So, Tim Holtz, if you hear me, if you even bother to watch me, this is your kind of contraption. And we need it. We need it. That would be awesome. My thing is baking and drying pretty much my table. I could be making embellishments, I could be making tags, I could be making so many other things that are going to go on that canvas that I have pretty much drying off and in the side. And food cook quicker in the microwave. There's got to be a way that you can put this in for like a minute and the whole thing is dry. Something that we can do, right? Super cool. And I cut off the side of her. This is a little sticky still. It's dry, but it's just a little bit sticky, a little tacky. Where's my butterfly? She's gonna go like right along there. I'm trying to figure out now is like her face to color it in. I think I'm gonna go with gesso, but I'm gonna gesso her face off of here because I don't want to mess this up. Gesso her face off of here so that I can paint it over. I'm gonna give it a light gesso um, so that I can go ahead and move into the next part that I used earlier. Only because I need to be able to testing. This is thick. It goes down. It'll go down. Thinner. Very thin kind of layer. Her face. She can kind of take watercolor or whatever it is that I end up using to kind of color her face in. So she ends up taking that well. Now I can use my gesso, but my gesso is gonna go over white, which is gonna erase, not erase, but cover up all of her features. So I won't be able to eyebrows or her lips or her other things are, as you can see, very clear. So it's perfect for using over pages, so on and so forth. To see all the different details. I'm not so much worried about her hair. I'm more worried about her face. Let me let's see. You know what? I'm just gonna do her hair just to be safe. Better safe than sorry. End up I wanted to start warping on me. So I'm just gonna do her hair on the safe side. Pretty much this is all there is to it. I can go ahead and paint over this face, add watercolor over this face, whatever I want to do over this face, and I put yellow all over the face from the distress in my fingernails because I'm gonna have to paint her face anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead, make sure that it's off because it is mixed with glue. You don't want it to glue, to glue down. But I'm gonna clean my hands while I do this. Well, how are you doing, my lovely? So we are going to to dry this up now really quickly. Make sure that she is not sticking to anything. I'm gonna dry her up. Then we're gonna collage her down. We're gonna glue her, we're gonna glue her down and paint all over her face, color her in. Yo te quiero tanto, mi gordita chula. So this is pretty dry. Take too long actually. The more layers you use, the longer it's gonna take. But and you hear that? That's the texture. That's the tooth in the paper now because you added the gesso. And so we have our canvas here that we just finished prepping and creating. A little beautiful butterfly here. The only thing out is this beautiful flower, which I'm going to incorporate on her as well. To glue her in, I'm just going to figure out where exactly I want these flowers to kind of go. So maybe I'll do something like so, where the flowers are kind of off to the side, and then I have this butterfly kind of here. That butterfly and put it somewhere else. Okay, I think that that's how I'm gonna do it. Give me a second. Let me get something to drink. No. Huh? No, you don't. Oh, by the way, you guys, a quick reminder. Is gonna be doing a live stream with me next Tuesday for making the when I make the cards live. Be we're gonna be doing like a copycat type of thing where I create a card and he kind of copies it or he does his own version of the card that I make. So yeah, this should be interesting and it should definitely be fun. So hopefully you guys will be able to catch us. And I usually do this around between 10:30 and 11. I'm trying to figure out still. I don't want to do it too late because I don't want to get into the afternoon hour and then end up kind of worried because of timing, so on and so forth. So this is why I kind of started a little bit earlier as opposed to a little bit later. Me in the door anywhere from 12 and up. Who else is here? Oh, I saw another name there. Alrighty, so to color her in, actually, I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use some of my gelatos. Um, for now because I'm gonna have to use it in a minute. My Faber Castell gelato, and I have a skin tone color right here. So I think I'm gonna use that. She did. Have lunch. Oh, okay. That's nice. She's having lunch with the teacher. She's like a teacher's pet. All right, so let's go ahead and this is the children's pack. This is not the actual gelatos. This is the kid version. Actually works just as just as good. I'm just gonna wet this brush a little bit. gonna be better than mine. Hopefully. I'm not that good yet, so I wouldn't be surprised. So very simple. I'm just kind of spreading this whole thing out. I'm not gonna worry too much about going crazy with the that. I just want to make this kind of easy and fun. So I'm just gonna spread all this color kind of everywhere. Spread this with your fingers, like so. Very easy to clean up as well with a wet wipe. Thank you, darling. A little bit of moisture goes a long way, but pretty moist themselves. To go too crazy adding water to them, but they do behave like a watercolor if you need them to. So you just gotta wet your brush a little bit. Oh, she's not. She's just. That's what she's doing. But she doesn't like it. They changed everything now in that school. Now everybody has lunch at the same time. She don't want to be there jostling around with people. Hmm. This is another water soluble crayon, but this is an oil pastel water soluble crayon, and it's by Crayola, and they're called Portfolios. What I'm gonna do is actually, I'm just gonna go right on to the crayon itself and pick up some of that color if I want to as well, but a little bit of color this time. Drop of water in there in that cup because I used most of it up. Softening it up a little bit. Over and thank you, my darlings. Thank you, thank you. So now I'm gonna continue to add more layers. So I'm gonna go now. So I actually have water in here. I don't even know why I'm using this cup. I have water in this thing. Is red orange. No, I don't want red orange. I want red. So I'm gonna get a little bit of this red as well. Same thing. A little bit more. Just a little bit more of okay. And let's add what we have as far as colors. We have green. Let's add a little bit of that green to her eyes. I don't know. Let's see. Let's get a little bit of that green in there and see how that kind of looks. Green, like a moss color. Let's add some moss color to her eyes. Also scrape this on plastic or a little plate or something like that and turn it into watercolor like that. Just mix it with a little bit of water to go. I just wanted this to kind of match have together. Markers that I'm going to be adding some fine details with after the fact to just kind of bring the whole kind of look all together. Black. So I can do her eye. These use wet brush and just kind of apply as a watercolor. The same thing you can do with watercolor pencils. I think I want to use a thinner one for that. Just turn this over so that I can do the other side. She's kind of starting to come to life a little bit, right? The eye stories. If you can get your eyes right, you're good to go, pretty much. Once you get the eyes, everything else kind of comes. My eyebrows did that. I have these little thin, and not because I plugged them, because I was naturally born with these thin eyebrows. I'm just glad I don't look surprised half the time. But yeah, thinnest eyebrows. Well, I think my son has the world's thinnest eyebrows. So now I have to add a little bit of a little bit of color here. So what am I gonna do? I'm thinking about how I'm gonna do this. Maybe with some medium brown. I use a different brush for this. This little square one. I'm gonna use some medium brown. I just want to pretty much kind of add a little bit of shadowing, but I don't want to go too far off of her skin tone. So I'm not gonna go for like obviously like a black or something like that. Just add a little bit of a shadow just in certain places. And I'm gonna fix this as I go. I'm just adding them in where I want them. And pretty much they have a lot of indication lines. So those little indication lines are usually a good place to kind of let you know where these shadows, especially when they're already there for you, don't need to second guess yourself. Now that side is gonna always look a little bit darker because it's in shadow. You go a little heavier on this side, the side that's off angle. Then you do on this side, which is a little bit closer. And I like that brown on her, so I'm gonna a little bit more better. What did I do? It's right here. That whole thing out over the browns and everything else that I have there, just so that it kind of all starts blending in. And I'm almost done with this face work. Taking out the brown and what I already have there. Use that natural line that's already there, that guideline, just to add more shadow. Very subtle, you can hardly see it, but it's definitely there. Like that. And if you notice, I didn't really even add any white in here, but um, initially, I have glue all over my fingers. But I think I'm gonna okay, okay, a bit something or the other. Hi, Janet. How you doing, love? Add a little bit of white right along her forehead and right on her chin. Okay. I'm gonna bring that white all the way down, little highlight area. Chin. I have the other white one. I just don't know. I think I have it in one of my little bins over there from when I was drawing. I just put it in a bin instead of goes. So I urge you people, always put your stuff back where it goes. All right. So I think for her hair, what I'm gonna do is, let's see, her hair. Hmm. Should I do it in orange? Um, finish it off in black then. Finish it off in black. And again, I'm just kind of using bottle stuff. So very affordable compared to the adult size that doesn't have much stuff, doesn't have many colors in one set. You have to kind of buy them all broken down, all the colors. I'm not worried about those highlights because I'm covering up all of those highlights. Um, her whole hair to kind of cover it up. Yes, she does. And then once I do this, which this is not gonna really give her much of a hairstyle. This is just what would be her hair because I'm gonna use that as the base. All the other pieces too. Okay, so Janet, I did the homemade gesso. You're gonna have to watch this video from the beginning so you know how to do it. Also, when I did is the that's the only thing I haven't done live. Video on that a little while ago. All right, so let's see. That's pretty good right there. Let me heat this up just to dry it real quick. And let me cut up my flowers that I'm gonna use on here. Okay. Stuff done. Napkins are really hard to fuzzy cut, you guys. Humongous scissors. Room and go get the smaller one, but being lazy right now. So I'm leaving somewhat of an edge around this. Scared to cut off a petal because these scissors are just so big. So I'm just gonna cut around the flower and adhere it that way. Or find places that sold these kinds of things around where I live. I saw what I have was from Dollar Tree, and already put a little 4x4 design spot of the napkin. You open it up, and the rest of it is white. So such a pretty pattern. Oh, you're still waiting. Ugh. I know what that is. I used to flip out every single time they would leave my son downstairs waiting. The bus would not even come. It takes him a while to walk downstairs because my son wears braces. And when he was younger, it was even worse. He at one point he was like in a full body almost, kind of brace, and they will literally like leave him stairs, see that he wasn't there, and they will go. Meanwhile, my poor son's going down the stairs. A little bit extra time. Oh man, leave my baby downstairs. Just down, but it's okay. It's okay. How okay is it, Carmen? Let's see. Is a rose is a rose. There we go. Better. Then I can just there, and then I can just there. See how that looks. Down with the rest. See if I find another little butterfly somewhere. And leave that be. Don't go crazy. Working alone. I know it's not easy. I want to see what else I find to kind of glue on here. I need more. We got some other flowers here, but these are humongous. Let's see. I might just have to use. Ooh, a little birdie. Should I add a birdie on her head? Ooh, let's add a birdie on her head. Find these napkins gorgeous. Oh my goodness. This beautiful. Which birdie I'm gonna add? I'm gonna add this one with the yellow flower. Can make that work. Yellow birdie right here. It's a little birdie on these flowers. And I'm not gonna fuzzy cut. I'm gonna leave a little edge around it. Add this glue. For the most part, this thing does become. I will still see the pigment of the flowers and stuff on it, but pigment in the background, so don't worry too much about it. Falling apart for me, so that helps me out quite a good deal. I'm just gonna much as I possibly can without going too nuts. Much my fault because I did not bring the proper scissors with me. I brought these humongous. I'm gonna love that. That's gonna look so cute. Sit the little birdie right on her head. Let's see. Hold on, hold on. Her head, but I don't want to mess up going on there. I'm trying to sit him that very gently, very gently. Because once that napkin gets wet, that's the problem. It becomes so weak. Too many ripples on it. Although it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. Now, flowers. So I took a bird from here. I need a napkin that I got that flower from so that I can add one on the other side. That's this one. I have in here. How about some of these? Yeah. What? 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 On their solution on the side. This whole little tropical bouquet. Put this tropical bouquet right on the side of her head. Celebrate her Spanish heritage. I'm gonna call her Lolita. Lolita loves flowers. 5 times fast. Lolita loves flowers. Lolita loves flowers. So let's get some of this from all the way around here. I'm just gonna cut it out and this way. How this looks. And I'm gonna use as much as I can of this, and then whatever doesn't fit, I'll just use it on. Lolita loves flowers. Lolita, let's get you some of your favorites. And baby. You know, napkins are fun to work with, but impossible. One. Act like me talking to them is actually gonna do something. To talk to my stuff. I never expect a reply, but like that Jedi mind control to do what I want it to do. Fine. Go. I think this will look quite nice because they're so vibrant compared to how dull this can be a little bit. More, se te oye todo. And add this down here. Just to kind of frame her face out. I don't know if I like that. Maybe I like it this way better. That way better. The fun of playing with napkins, you guys. So pretty much this is good to go. So we went from a Care Bears to Lolita. Me like it. Me like it. And I'm gonna add the butterfly now too. All right, darling. Bye. Now let's just add this somewhere. Seal her up. Overwhelm her too much with glue because it's very fragile. Once this is all dry, then what I will do to to this just to blend in some of those rough edges, like from this cutout, from this butterfly hair a little bit, just make some of these colors kind of pop out. What I will do, dryer, I can go into it a little bit, but very gently. So I thank you guys. It for me for today. What it looks like on the next one, the project we do moving forward. I think next week we'll probably get into working a little bit more with sprays, kind of moving away around all the different kind of mediums and stuff like that. And every time I'll try to do a project where I incorporate some of the mediums that I'm either creating with you guys or guys about different things like that. If you follow me on Instagram, then you'll probably see this sooner rather than later. We'll allow this to kind of dry on its own now, thoroughly, and get nice and sturdy. But I really do like how she is looking so far. And I hope you guys catch me on the next one.